what does it take to truly brand? And imagine, Larry, that my listener is brand new, less than 2 years for sure, and maybe even about to launch. What do they need to know for how to brand themselves, brand the podcast, and get the results?
The biggest thing is knowing what your goal is. First and foremost, what are you trying to accomplish? And do you have an existing brand? Are you launching a podcast to accentuate what you're already doing? Do you have a business that has a brand? Or are you looking to launch a personal brand? And that's a big difference and a totally different approach depending on how we're going at it. From my perspective, I mean, I sometimes I hate to say this, but the whole red hat thing was an accident and I stumbled on it. And I can't even really take credit for it. Good friend of mine, Alex Sanfilippo, who owns Podmatch. He's the founder and owner of Podmatch, which is the best guesting platform in the whole wide world as far as podcasting goes. I got to give him credit for the whole red hat thing. So I'll dial it back and give you kind of a revised version of that story. I didn't really have a brand. Again, my company was called Readily Random, and I was just randomly trying to find my way through this sea of content creation. And while I was making some progress because of the work that I was putting in, I really wasn't finding a solid foundation. I really wasn't seeing that big jump in exposure or big jump in what we would consider success. So what ended up happening was back in 2021, that's how young the whole Red Hat brand is. I believe it was November of 2021 in Tampa, Florida. Alex Sanfilippo and I were both speaking at a smaller event called Podfest Origins, which was a small event from Podfest. And Alex and I, we give each other a hard time every time we go on stage. He'll come down, I'll rib him a little bit. I'll come down, he'll do the same thing to me. But at this event, I happened to be wearing a Supreme hat. And Supreme is a brand that all those wacky kids are wearing these days. At least they were wearing back in 2021. I don't even think it's popular anymore, to be honest with you. But all of their products are red. And then in big white bold letters, it just says Supreme. That's how they brand everything. And I was wearing that Supreme branded flat bill red hat, more so in an effort to kind of connect with a younger demographic. So I come down off stage after doing my presentation. Alex gives me a bunch of grief. And then he goes, but seriously, dude, why are you wearing the Supreme hat? And I told him the story and he goes, well, that's great and all, but why are you wearing their products? Why are you giving that brand attention? Are they paying you? And I said, look, dude, no, I'm a 48-year-old white male. They're definitely not paying me for their branding in any way, shape, fashion, or form. He goes, and you got to ditch the hat. But he goes, I tell you what, I love the red hat on you because I'm kind of a big guy. I'm 6'3", about 240. And the red hat on my dome just really stands out like a lighthouse or like a beacon in the night. So it really makes me stand out in crowds. And that resonated with me. So I ran home and I threw away that $100 Supreme ball cap.
You threw it away. Amazon. You didn't throw it away.
I kid you not. It's not even in my studio. I promise. I threw it away and I jumped on Amazon and I bought one of these $6 at the time. I think they're 11 now. $6 unbranded red flat bill hat. And I started wearing that. And the transformation with just the red hat was so next level. People immediately started recognizing me as, quote unquote, the red hat guy. And they knew that they didn't necessarily know my name at the time, but they knew the red hat guy meant podcasting. And the red hat guy could help you grow your podcast. So, and it was really driven home. When the following year, I think it was March, April, somewhere in that neighborhood, I went to Bitcoin Miami, which is the largest Bitcoin conference in the world, 35,000 people over 3 days. And I was wearing my unbranded red hat. And over the course of those 3 days, multiple people walked up to me in that sea of 35,000 people and said, oh, you're the red hat guy. I didn't know these people, but they knew me. And when I saw that, I was like, oh my God, this whole red hat branding thing really has legs. This really has turned into something. And when I had that realization, I knew that I was going to have to change everything that I was doing. So I had to change my company from Readily Random Media to Red Hat Media. I had to get a new website. And last year alone, I spent 11 grand on a Readily Random website and it's garbage now. I can't even use the dang thing. So I've just hired a new company to get me basically a landing page. So my webpage isn't very impressive right now because honestly, I'm still growing. It's still growing through this Red Hat Media transformation. But what that did was it taught me a lesson in branding. And while a red hat may not work for you or whatever, some little fashion icon or whatever, it may not be the thing that makes you stand out in a crowd. But what that did was it drove home the point that we as creators, we have to find our own red hats. We have to figure out what we're doing and how we can accentuate ourselves in our niche, in our profession, in our industry. And once you do that, you leverage that to the maximum capacity to stand out in a crowd. Now people are recognizing the Red Hat guy as Larry Roberts. People are starting to know my name, and they're starting to realize, oh, the Red Hat guy is not just podcasting, but he can come over here in this niche and start talking to us about branding. And as of November, when ChatGPT launched, I started becoming the AI guy because I saw the power in AI and how we can use it to create content. So it all ties back to podcasting, but it's these new niches and these new industries that not only have I taken advantage of and learned the skills to support, but the Red Hat and the branding and the personal messaging there translates to additional opportunities. So that's what I foresee as the next level for Red Hat Media and the Red Hat guy.